Welcome to Lesson 4.7, Securing Multimedia Communication. In your Candidate Information Bulletin, we are in the Communications and Network Security domain. We are in Key Area of Knowledge D, which is Design and Establish Secure Communication Channels. Our topics for this lesson will be VoIP, Voice over IP, Remote Meeting Technology, Instant Messaging and Chat, and Content Distribution Networks. So multimedia collaboration has significantly impacted how we work, how we communicate, and how we entertain. And now we have voice and audio and video all routinely being transmitted over IP networks rather than traditional PSTN circuits. Earlier we referred to this as IP convergence, where we have the convergence of voice, audio, and video on an IP network rather than having separate circuits to support each one of these. In this lesson, we're going to be looking at IP telephony, which includes voice over IP, or VoIP, remote meeting technology, and instant messaging and chat. We're also going to take a look at content distribution networks. And in both cases, in the IP telephony environment and the content distribution network, we want to understand what the relationship is between security and multimedia collaboration. Voice over Internet, or VoIP, is used to transmit audio and video over IP networks. Now, VoIP systems employ a number of controls. They employ session controls and signaling protocols for notification, setup, and the teardown of calls. Now, these are not security controls. These are controls that allow for the transmission to happen. Codec software is used to convert audio and video into digital frames. Now, there are a variety of proprietary and open VoIP protocols. H.323 was the first widely adopted protocol, but the leading protocol in use today is CISSP, which is Session Initiation Protocol, and it is an open and extensible protocol. So let's look at CISSP. The Session Initiation Protocol is designed to manage multimedia connections, such as VoIP, video calls, and instant messaging over IP. CISSP provides integrity protection by using an MD5 hash function. It supports encryption mechanisms, including TLS, and it supports privacy extensions, which include caller ID suppression. So CISSP, again, integrity with using an MD5 hash function, and encryption using TLS. The CISSP architecture is centralized, and it consists of 3 different types of servers. Generally, you'll have a proxy server, which is used for name mapping and packet relay. You'll have a registrar server, which keeps a record of user locations. And you'll have a redirect server, which allows CISSP devices to retain their identity regardless of their location. CISSP can be also used to support a decentralized peer-to-peer architecture. And in a peer-to-peer architecture, user records are maintained across distributed member nodes. Now, because we're having voice communication, we do need to be concerned with packet loss. Packet loss is very disruptive to voice and video and will degrade the communication channel. And that really impacts availability. So VoIP uses RTP, which is real-time transmission protocol, which doesn't guarantee delivery, but is designed to request redelivery of a packet. And then it uses what's called packet loss concealment techniques to mitigate the effects of any lost or dropped packets. And those concealment techniques include a zero insertion, which replaces the lost speech frame with zeros, waveform substitution, which will repeat the last frame, and/or advanced algorithms. So these are various techniques that ensure that we have smooth communication. VoIP is subject to eavesdropping, interception, spoofing, and distributed denial of service attack. VoIP security controls include maintaining your servers, meaning that you have good configuration management, you have patch management, and you have AV management. These should not be your stepchildren servers. You want to maintain and manage your VoIP servers just like you do all of your other servers. You may want to put your VoIP servers in an enclave. Remember, an enclave is a trusted network within a trusted network. You want to disable all unnecessary services on your VoIP devices. The only services that should be running are the ones that support VoIP communication. And you want to implement IDS, IPS either on your VoIP devices as a host-based IDS, IPS, or on the segment that has the VoIP servers. You want to make sure that you include your VoIP servers in your internal vulnerability assessments so that you can. Lastly, you want to make sure that you include your VoIP servers in your internal vulnerability assessments. Now, remote meeting technology, which is sometimes referred to as virtual meetings, are designed to connect participants in real time and support audio and video conferencing, file and desk sharing, and remote control. Our threats to remote meeting technology include eavesdropping, spying, unauthorized participation, data leakage, and unintentional access. So our corresponding mitigating controls for our remote meeting technology, including firewall restrictions, encryption, so having our sessions be encrypted, ensure that we have authentication, that you have to log in to use a session, and good password security, that we have equipment management controls, that we're not just leaving our cameras on or our remote technologies on all the time, that we're actually managing the equipment, and that we have user awareness training so they understand how remote meeting technology could potentially be exploited, particularly when it comes to desktop sharing or remote control. Instant messaging and chat services were initially designed for real-time text communication, but have expanded to include voice, video, screen sharing, file exchange, and remote control. Our instant messaging architecture can be peer-to-peer or client-server. And our threats to instant messaging and chat include packet sniffing, eavesdropping, and unauthorized participation, data leakage, malware distribution, and social engineering. So our corresponding mitigating controls, again, include a firewall restriction, encryption, authentication, password security, and really good user awareness training. Switching gears a little bit to look at content distribution network. A content distribution network, or CDN, is a large distributed system of servers, internet service providers, and network operators. The goal of a CDN is to serve content to end users with very high availability and high performance. In a hybrid model, content is served using both dedicated servers and peer user-owned computers. Now, what that means is that in a content distribution network, a peer or a user that's participating in the content distribution server may actually be unwittingly and unknowingly caching the content and then redistributing it to other users. So our threats include excessive bandwidth usage, P2P or peer-to-peer distribution of malware, because in fact we're actually connecting to other peers potentially, not just talking back to the server, and the introduction of executable files and unauthorized system access. When the peer connects to the server, there may in fact be executable files that are coming down locally or even unauthorized system access. So our mitigating controls should include firewall restrictions, where you can and can't go, and what type of traffic can come into your network and leave your network. Quality of service controls, so you're ensuring that you're not chewing up bandwidth unnecessarily. And again, user security awareness training. We should be restricting where our users can go in the business environment, and they should understand why those restrictions are in place and what we're trying to accomplish. So that brings us to our lesson 4.7 review. We started the lesson talking about VoIP, voice over IP, as well as the CISSP protocol. Then we looked at remote meeting technology, instant messaging and chat, and content distribution networks. And we looked at the vulnerabilities and threats associated with each of these, as well as the mitigating controls. So let's go into our 4.7, match the meaning, IP telephony, CISSP, RTP, codec, H323, a CISSP redirect server, a CISSP registrar server, and CDN. So take a few minutes, go ahead and match up the meetings, put me on pause, come on back as soon as you're ready, and we'll go through these together. IP telephony was telecommunication services using IP. CISSP was our protocol that we were using for telephony, and it uses MD5, hashing for integrity. It uses TLS, encryption for confidentiality, and it has privacy extensions, including caller ID. RTP was our transmission and routing protocol that could request redelivery of VoIP packets. Codec is software used to enable the conversion of audio and video to digital frames. H.323 was the first widely adopted VoIP protocol. A SIP redirect server is a server that facilitates SIP device portability, and a SIP registrar server was a server that facilitates SIP user portability. So the redirect server was device, and the registrar server was user. And lastly, CDN is a high-performance content distribution network. I hope you did well on these. If not, please feel free to go back through this lesson again so they become more familiar and comfortable with these terms and concepts. So we're going to end our lesson with our CISSP exam tips. VoIP servers can be a malicious network entry point. Very often what I've found is that organizations do not include their VoIP servers in their testing and examination. They're sort of set over to the side. You want to make sure that you do include those because they can be an entry point to your network, and you should be putting those VoIP servers, if at all possible, into an enclave network. Remote meeting technology can also be a malicious network entry point. Now, this could happen in a variety of ways. It could be unauthorized access, it could be unexpected participation in a meeting, and the one that's probably most concerning is when a local user will choose to share their desktop or even allow a takeover of their desktop. And then a content distribution network can also be a malicious network entry point, particularly if the content distribution takes advantage of peer-to-peer sharing. So thinking about VoIP servers, your remote meeting technology, and your content distribution networks, all great technologies, but you need to recognize that all of them are potential entry points into the network that can be abused. So thank you for joining me for this lesson, and I look forward to seeing you in the next.